Get 5 coffins ready.
Hey everyone, welcome to my guide on Fafnir and SMITE. Fafnir is a guardian who is a support through and through, having low base damage outside of his ultimate form, relying instead on boosting his teammates' stats while controlling the enemy. Build-wise, Fafnir will rarely diverge from any meta support builds, but may want to spring for cooldown earlier if there are appropriate items. Spear of Desolation 2 has seen some play on him as a singular damage item, as a way to give him some solid damage boost with the much needed cooldown reduction. What Fafnir may lack in stature, he more than makes up for with his versatility. Strong at range and close up, with exceptional gap closures which make him great at engaging and disengaging, with exceptional lockdown and tankiness to boot. Assisting in this tankiness is Fafnir's passive. Fafnir gains protections the more gold he has currently in hand, currently capping out at 1000 gold for a total of 25 magical and physical protections. The maths behind this passive are quite complicated, and it can honestly be hard to tell sometimes just how many protections extra you have based on this very clear and concise passive meter. So instead, just use your current gold in hand stat to gauge your overall tankiness, especially in the early game where this flat protections boost is most effective. Additionally, Fafnir gains 2 bonus gold for any kill or assist on any enemy, so that means minions, jungle minions, and gods, but not jungle bosses or structures. Both portions of the passive are absolutely stellar, letting Fafnir get on with the job of being tanky while also improving the aspect of the support role of, not having any money. Next up is Fafnir's 1, a simple but extremely potent ability. Fafnir throws his hammer in a straight line, stopping on enemy god's hit, but is able to pass through minions and walls. When this ability strikes an enemy god, the god is damaged, stunned for 1 second, and slowed for 3 seconds, although the slow begins while you're stunned, making it more like a 2-second slow. Once the god is hit, a slow radiates from them in a relatively large radius, and this AoE will inflict the aforementioned 3-second slow on any enemies inside of it. Understanding the speed, range, and the range of the AoE slow is absolutely paramount to learning how to play Fafnir. Being able to make snap aiming movements while engaging and 180 throws while retreating is absolutely necessary, as this is one of the most devastating abilities in the game, especially in the early game. The slow alone may be enough to force beads out of an enemy ADC. Equally as devastating, although maybe not for the enemy gods specifically, is Fafnir's second ability. Fafnir selects himself or a nearby ally god, and grants some scaling attack speed and bonus damage, as well as heals himself, and himself only. The bonus damage bases itself off the target's ally's power, and will apply every time a damaging ability or basic attack is hit, meaning that abilities with damage over time can proc this ability multiple times. The real boost that this ability is renowned for is the attack speed boost, a massive 30% at max level, making towers, phoenixes, and jungle bosses quiver in fear, as well as ensure your ally is assured a hefty advantage in a trade. With a base cooldown of 16 seconds however, you must choose your target and time it relatively well, as the 5-second buff window will either feel like the best or the absolute worst 5 seconds of the match, depending on how it's used. For me, I typically go for my 1 first, then boost my teammates so that I know I won't waste my boost by missing my 1 right afterwards, which I do tend to do from time to time. A good way to ensure your 1 hits is your third ability. Fafnir leaps forward quickly, creating a small AoE cone in front of him upon landing, damaging and disarming any enemies inside this AoE. This may seem simple on the surface, and it is. It's a great tool for gap closing or disengaging from a bad situation, for instance getting punished for missing your 1. Sometimes you'll want to use it on a nearby enemy just to get some quick extra damage, other times you'll want to utilize its maximum range. But either way, ensuring you hit this ability isn't always as easy as it seems. The AoE cone is very short but very wide, a bit like Fafnir himself. So, like his first ability, getting used to the ability's speed and shape is paramount to making the most out of the ability, as gap closing without disarming who you intend to attack can leave you very vulnerable, especially with its hefty cooldown. Another ability with a hefty but very justified cooldown is Fafnir's ultimate. Fafnir enters an immune state and begins transforming into his dragon form, releasing a large AoE which damages upon reaching the full dragon form, ticking 3 times for 3 seconds. Initially this may strike you as a simple stance switch ability, however it's anything but. This is one of Fafnir's best ways to bait out abilities and completely dismantle teamfights. If Fafnir's damage hasn't wowed you so far, now you'll start to see and feel it come into its own. Because man, you do not want this ability ticking on you as a squishy, as it deals up to 480 plus 120% of your magical power. Sure, it's easy to walk out of the AoE, but a good Fafnir player is banking on you doing so, making this a good way to get a pesky assassin or hunter away from your squishy teammates, as well as wave off engages from enemy supports and solo laners. Again though, like all of Fafnir's abilities, it is really easy to get this ability wrong. Do this too early and you lose your momentum in the teamfight. Do this too late and the enemy team has already gained a massive advantage in the teamfight before you've even transformed. All of Fafnir's abilities are vitally important to your entire team's fighting capability, but Fafnir's ultimate is the absolute definition of make or break. Fafnir will remain in this dragon form for 20 to 40 seconds depending on level, and while in this new dragon form, Fafnir's auto attacks are now in an AoE in front of him, and will indeed be affected by his current attack speed stat, as well as proc his 2. Fafnir's 1 remains largely the same, however this time does a hefty damage over time and shreds protections. Fafnir's 2, again, is very similar, however now it can be casted in a blanket AoE instead of having to choose just one lucky ally. Keep in mind that Fafnir's abilities and auto attacks are now ticking over time, enhancing the effect of the buff on himself. Fafnir's 3 is the most changed out of the abilities, being given a colossal range increase, however at the cost of a larger windup time. Now, however, the ability will stun for a whopping 2 seconds, and once again, will deal damage over time. This dragon form is where Fafnir really comes into his own. A helpful little tank in his normal form, Fafnir becomes the greatest asset to the team immediately upon transforming. Great damage, incredible lockdown, and a massive range make Fafnir's dragon form, even when Fafnir himself is not in the meta, one of the best characters in the game. So, what's the downside? Well, it's most of what I've been hinting at throughout this video. Fafnir, and especially in his dragon form, are incredible when used correctly. This does come down to mechanics with the odd timing of his Dragon Leap and both versions of his 1, but also the situational awareness to use both versions of your leap properly so as to not leave yourself wide open to attack, as well as transforming at the right time as well. Despite the power of Fafnir's Dragon form, it won't do you any good if your team is half dead before the transformation is complete, or if the enemy has enough leeway to simply turn tail and wait out your Dragon form. Really, what it comes down to is similar to a lot of ultimate abilities in the game, only with greater payoff and worse downsides if you miss time or otherwise misuse the ultimate. Hopefully now you have a fuller understanding of Fafnir's moveset, and now we can move on to a few examples of how to combo them all together. That's about all I have on Fafnir at the moment. If he doesn't click with you right away, don't worry about it. He's a very unique character who takes a lot of getting used to, both in terms of raw mechanics as well as situational awareness. Stick with him though, and he will reward you with some of the most impactful abilities in the game. Think I missed anything? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.